You are about to enter the invention dimension, a place where you discover and uncover and activate the skills within you that you need to be an inventor. Sit back and relax and get ready to enter the invention dimension. It's time for another episode of Invention Dimension, and today is all about building your prototype. In your journey through inventing, you have already learned about problem seeking, finding and exploring different solutions to your problem, and researching what might already exist to solve your problem. You've looked at designing your solution by researching different materials and creating plans for your prototype. The next step is to take your research and plans and put them into action. It's time to actually build your prototype. A prototype could be created in a 3D printer, in a makerspace, or in a fab lab. But many prototypes find their beginnings in basements and garages around the world. The materials used are often everyday items like PVC pipe, duct tape, clothespins, recycled materials, and items lying around which the inventor looks at and says, what if? The inventor begins to combine and try out different materials to help them arrive at the prototype they plan to design and create. They might use handheld tools or power tools, which can be super fun. But make sure if you are using power tools, you practice safety and work with an adult. A visit to a hardware store can be helpful when you are thinking about building your prototype too. You might find a fastener or tubing or material you didn't even know existed. Inspiration can happen as you walk around and explore the world around you. This makes me think of Lonnie Anderson, American engineer and inventor of the Super Soaker squirt gun. When building his prototype, he used a plastic soda bottle, a bicycle pump, clothespin for the spring, and trigger for the tubing. This prototype allowed him to test, improve, and develop what would eventually be made out of plastics and sold around the world. Since arriving on the market in 1990, sales of his Super Soaker have reached $1 billion. Today, Mr. Johnson holds over 80 patents. When looking for materials to build your prototype, you could consider styrofoam sheets, like the designer here. They use styrofoam sheets, glue, and sandpaper to shape and assemble and make their prototype. It shows the viewer what their prototype and their invention will look like someday. Most often, your prototype will not be perfect at first, and that's okay, because imperfections give you the opportunity to make improvements. Inventor Thomas Edison invented the commercially practical incandescent light bulb in 1879. It took him more than 1,000 tries to arrive at an operational model. Inventing is hard work, and inventors are determined and persevere through challenges and setbacks. Inventors keep trying while building their prototypes and always keep a record of how testing goes, their challenges, and the changes they make to prototypes. Today, we will meet inventors, designers, and engineers who will share about how they create and build prototypes and solutions to problems they have discovered. Come on, let's go learn about how others build prototypes.
Well, I encourage the kids to literally go to Home Depot and just shop around and look around at things that are available to them that might relate to their prototype.
Start with paper first and try constructing what you're doing in 2D. Then work to a cardboard, work to popsicle sticks, PVC pipe, toilet paper rolls, anything that you can find. Generally, you can make this out of trash. If you've got, aluminum cans, whatever you got. The whole idea is to get what you kind of have in 2D into something into 3D. After you've kind of got that figured out, you can go to the next steps, which include CAD, which are going to include 3D printing and a lot more, maybe even taking wood and cutting it up with real saws and all that kind of stuff and getting a more precise model. But always start out with what you've got there next to you, because one of the things you want to do is speed is often the critical aspect. How quickly can I get my idea and start working on something? Because it's going to develop into something else. As you start playing with it, as you start looking at it, you're going to find more ideas and you're going to want to sketch more. And so that creative process really gets moving as soon as you start working in that 3D aspect. So let that go. Try using whatever you've got around you to try to bring that to life.
So when you go to build a prototype, it's often the most easiest material you can get that you create a prototype with first. So for example, you have a printer, paper, You can create some cardboard models. It doesn't have to work, but at least you can see the size of it and the function.
How many versions of prototypes did you go through?
Oh, we probably went through 15 or 20. So I was here last year with prototype versions. So they were all handmade by me. All the plastics were 3D printed. So for the ball itself, we bought an off-the-shelf one and hacked it with a X-Acto knife and kind of figure out ways to make it work. And 3D printing, we had a desktop 3D printer, which they're good for getting general form and function. But to make it where all the buttons worked, everything else, we ended up using an SLS 3D printer. So there's services that you can send them your designs and they will print them for you. And it's a powder-based 3D printing. And so they're the most accurate that you can get as far as to true production quality.
Under here is actually cardboard. So it was around Christmas time. So we took all the tubes that we had from leftover wrapping paper. So we thought that was an actual good idea. So we used those items and we took a box and we took some paint.
We grow a lot of soybeans, not only in Ohio, but across the United States. The United States is one of the largest producers of soybeans. Because of that, soybeans are an easy raw material that we can use to help build the prototypes that we're seeking. I hope you will consider using soybeans and their products, such as soybean meal and soybean oil, to build your invention.
There are makerspaces like the Idea Foundry all over the nation. If you just type in makerspace and the name of your city on Google, you could probably find some in your state. And they should all have a variety of tools that you can use to help make your idea a reality.
As you learned in today's episode, building your prototype is an important step in the invention process. Remember, think safety first. Consider different materials. Go to the hardware store and look for inspiration. Try lots of different ways to build your prototype. Keep in mind, it doesn't always work the first time, but don't give up. Keep trying. Build another prototype and keep improving until you arrive at the solution that works. And you'll be an inventor too. It's time for me to get back to my prototype. See you next time.